Saving money in the winter is not for the faint of heart. You have to do what it takes. You have to sacrifice and make choices that will lead you to saving big. Then again, what if the pipes burst? That might not be good. Let's try some other tips. One cool and wicked easy thing that you can do is you can open up your south-facing windows in the morning. Not open up the windows themselves, but open up the blinds. That way you can get that natural heat coming in and kind of warm up the house a little bit. And then at night you can go ahead and close the blinds or the curtains or whatever you have, and that'll kind of keep some of the chill out. You can also try upgrading your shade. So I have like the cheap $5 ones here, and they're not really insulated, but if you go to Lowe's, hang on. Now, according to these people, these are 30% more efficient to have blinds like this that are insulated and also blackout. Now you can use ones like that help insulate, or you could get the curtains that you can draw across, and you can get ones that are insulated as well, and that can really keep the draft out. You can also do things like put plastic on them if they're like older breezy windows, but it's really important to do something with your windows, especially if you have winters that are like here in New Hampshire where it's like 0 degrees out all the time. As long as we're talking about windows, if you have old windows like this used to be the exterior of the house, and then there's a porch that got put on. But if you have old windows like that are leaky, what we did is we went ahead and like caulked them or filled them, and you have that like that stuff that you can put in them to prevent leaks, because there was just huge gaps in it and you could just like feel the breeze coming through. So going through and trying to winterize, if you have any like corners or bottoms of doors or window sills and stuff like that, just taking a few minutes and like one thing of that window filler can make a huge difference. Another thing that can save you a lot, and it's also a cool thing to do, would be to replace your thermostat. Now, I'm not going to do that in this property because, again, it is a rental, so I'm not really doing any high dollar things, but it can make a big difference. Let's go back to the store. Now, way to save even more is to get a smart thermostat. This can lower your heating expenses by 10, 20, or sometimes even 30%. The cool thing about this is you get a $100 rebate. So it's really like a $60 thing that will pay for itself inside of a year or inside of 2 years, depending on how much you use it and how well you use it. But it can definitely make a pretty big impact on your expenses. It is investing that $150, you get $100 back, so you're really investing $50 to make a long-term impact, and it's wicked cool, and you can control it on your phone, and it's just kind of fun. Even if you don't upgrade your thermostat to a newer one, you can still lower it at night. You can turn it down to 55 at night and then put it back up in the morning. You can do that with one or without a new one. Or you can also, if you're away for the weekend or for the day, just turn your thermostat down and then you can turn it back up when you get down. And that can save a little bit if you consistently do that over months. If you have baseboard heating, you can also do this little trick. Now, I have not tried this myself yet, again, because this is a rental, I'm not sure if I'm gonna go through the hassle of doing this, but you can take like baseboards, like down here, you can take the face off, and you can go ahead and put tinfoil on the outside, like the side that is to the exterior of the house, and that should bounce some of the heat back in and kind of like insulate the wall a little bit. Now again, I have not tried this myself, but I have heard that it does help a little bit, so that could be something that you might want to try. So turns out I don't have an attic. But if you do have an attic, just remember that heat rises. Now, I used to live on the top story of my parents' house, and we had a wood stove, and in the winter, my room would be like 90 degrees, which sweet, love it, never complain about that. And then the rest of the house would be freezing because it was downstairs. But just remember that your heat is going up. So if it's escaping through your ceiling, through the attic space, through windows that are upstairs that are not insulated, just keep an eye out for that, because you can lose a lot of heat that way. Now, when you have a fire like me, when your fire is not running, just try to make sure that your flue is closed so that heat is not escaping up the chimney. Like for instance, now that my fire is out, we try to make sure that the heat does not go up here. So I'll try to close that flue. Sometimes it sticks. I'm sorry about this, guys. But anyways, remember that heat rises and cold air sinks. You're gonna have cold air coming down the chimney. You're gonna have heat going out of it. It's a wreck, really. So there's a few other things that we can do that you won't be able to see as much, but will still make a difference. Let's go down to the basement. I apologize for the really sketchy light and stuff. But anyways, oh goodness.
You can do things like this where you insulate some of your pipes so that the heat does not escape. Now this is a one-time thing. It's relatively cheap to do. This stuff's like really cheap, and it'll keep some of the heat in for all your pipes, and it does make a huge difference. But again, you do that once, and for the next 10-20 years you're not losing that little bit of heat in these pipes. And another thing that you can do is you can turn your boiler down, so you can turn your water temperature down to like 120. You don't need it really high, and that can also save you a little bit of money.
Now with your boiler, you also want to make sure that you are maintaining it well. So you want to have somebody come out probably every year to give it a once over, to check it out, to tune it up, to change the filter and things like that. That'll make it run more efficient right now, but it also make it last longer so that you don't have to replace it as often. You don't have that $5,000 expense of having to replace it. It might give you a few more years in the long run. You could also try wrapping your hot water heater. This can pay for itself in like a year or two. Another thing that doesn't really make a huge difference, but it can make a little bit of a difference, is when you're cooking that you can leave the oven open. Let me show you what I mean. So pretty much just when you're done cooking something, you can leave the oven open a little bit. If you have kids, obviously, it's not a good idea to do that. But it's just something that we do if it's wicked cold out. You can just cook something, try to cook together to save even more, but just cooking can heat something up. So if you strategically time when you are cooking, it can end up heating up the house a little bit. Now also, if you have baseboard heating, make sure that you're not blocking them with couches or with furniture or stuff like that, because that doesn't allow the heat to come through and it's not very efficient. We used to have the couch right in front of this one here, and it just wasn't that efficient. It really blocked a lot of the heat, and now that we moved it over to this wall, it does work a lot better. Also, I don't have them in this property, but if you have forced hot air and you have those vents in the floor, you want to do the same thing with those. Make sure that you're not blocking them, you don't have a pile of laundry over them, and stuff like that, so you're able to ventilate the home, and just everything is going to be more efficient if you do it that way. Another little hack is that you can run your washer with cold water. You have the option of hot, warm, tap cold, cold. You can do that whatever you want. If you want to save a little bit more money, you could also run it with cold water. You can also try switching to LED lights, which could save you a lot, and they use about 20% of the power that incandescent light bulbs use, so that can add up over time as well, and they last a heck of a lot longer. So switching to LED can be a good thing if you need to replace your lights anyways. Also, you can go ahead and replace windows. Now, if you do not have to replace a window, strictly speaking money-wise, it is not really worth it. I think I worked it out with one of the property I was looking at. I was looking to replace the windows, and it would take about 20 years to get my money back. So even though you are saving a little bit, it's gonna take a long time to get your money back. So strictly speaking, money-wise, it might be better to insulate them instead, but you are gonna be losing some, some energy out the windows if you do have old windows. So consider upgrading them. Also, you can upgrade your Christmas lights to ones that are much more efficient. That could be 80 or 90% more efficient than your old ones. But again, there is gonna be a cost up front to that. So you just have to decide if that's something you want to invest in long term. The last one, and really the most fun one, is to save money next year by buying things in the off season. So if you know that you need shorts and a swimsuit next year, and you're roughly going to be the same weight you are this year and the same size, maybe you're done growing, then maybe you could buy those now where they're going to be 50 or 70% off depending on where you go. If you buy them in the winter, they're going to be a lot cheaper than if you buy them next year and then at the end of the winter. So you just like kind of buy stuff in off seasons that you're not always buying, like when it's the most expensive. Now it's important that you don't overbuy just because things are on sale. So if you buy twice as much stuff and you end up using half of it, then you just kind of eliminate the whole sale itself. So just make sure you don't get caught up in that. But yeah, that's kind of a cool little tip that I do, and I hope you guys got some value out of this video. If you guys have any tips of your own, please throw them down in the comments. I would love to hear more tips or your thoughts on these tips. Also, please consider dropping a like if that's something that you want to do, and subscribing if you want to see more cool stuff like this. I'm a real estate agent, so I'm gonna get more into like a few real estate tips. Gonna talk about the home buying process and a few other things, as well as sticking with the money saving tips and things like that in the future. So so you guys know what I have coming up. Thank you for sticking around this far. If you are here, then cool. Thank you for watching this long. I should probably end this at some point.